What do you call a betrayal that breaks before the wedding vows are even spoken? I'm about to find out the hard way. My name is Lysandra Greve, and 3 weeks ago I was planning the perfect wedding to Simon Halberg, my finance manager fiancé of 2 years. We had the venue booked, the flowers ordered, and 200 guests ready to celebrate our love story. Now I'm sitting in my empty apartment, staring at legal documents that just destroyed my entire life. But let me start at the beginning, because this story isn't what you think it is. The whole thing started falling apart on a sunny Tuesday morning at Café Luna, our usual brunch spot downtown. I was meeting my bridesmaid Aimee to go over final wedding details, feeling confident and in control. The bachelorette party had been 3 days earlier, and honestly, it was exactly what I needed before settling into married life. Aimee looked terrible when she walked in, dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking as she ordered her coffee. I figured she was just hungover from our epic night at Club Meridian. "You look like death," I said, laughing as she slumped into the booth across from me. "Was the VIP booth too much for you?" She winced. "Lysandra, we need to talk about Saturday night." "What about it? We had an amazing time. The bottle service, the dancing, that gorgeous VIP booth overlooking the main floor. It was perfect." Aimee stared at her coffee cup. "It's about what happened in the bathroom corridor. With Julian." My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice light. "I don't know what you mean. We were all just having fun." "Lysandra, I saw you. We all saw you. You disappeared with that investor guy for almost 20 minutes. The one who got us the booth upgrade." I felt heat rising in my cheeks, but I wasn't about to let her guilt trip ruin my mood. "Look, nothing happened, okay? I was drunk, we talked, maybe we kissed a little. It's not like I'm married yet. Simon doesn't own me." "You did more than kiss him." "Even if I did, which I'm not saying I did, it doesn't count. I'm not married yet. It was my bachelorette party, for God's sake. That's what they're for." Aimee's hands were trembling now. "Lysandra, Simon deserves to know." "Know what? That I had fun at my own party, that I felt attractive and alive for one night before committing to the same person forever." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "Besides, what happens in the VIP booth stays in the VIP booth. That's girl code." "This isn't girl code. This is cheating." "It's not cheating if we're not married yet. And frankly, Aimee, I'm disappointed that my maid of honor is trying to sabotage my wedding over some harmless party fun." She looked like she was going to be sick. "I can't keep this secret." "Yes, you can, because nothing happened that matters. And if you really care about me, you'll drop this right now." But I could see in her eyes that she wasn't going to drop it. Aimee always was too emotional, too concerned with everyone else's feelings. It's why she was still single at 31. I paid for brunch and drove home to our apartment, my mind racing. Simon would be home from his morning run soon, and I needed to get ahead of whatever Aimee might tell him. I had to control the narrative. When I walked into our kitchen, Simon was already there, still in his running clothes, drinking water and checking his phone. He looked up and smiled, that warm, trusting smile that had made me fall for him in the first place. "How was brunch with Aimee?" he asked. "Fine, just wedding stuff." I started unloading the dishwasher, keeping my hands busy. "She's being a little dramatic about some silly party nonsense. You know how bridesmaids get." Simon nodded, but I noticed he was watching me more carefully than usual. "What kind of nonsense?" Before I could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. The warmth drained from his face as he read whatever message had just come through. "Simon? What is it?" He looked up at me, and for the first time in 2 years, I saw something cold in his eyes. "Aimee wants to meet me for coffee. She says it's about Saturday night." My heart started pounding, but I forced myself to stay calm. "She's probably just stressed about the wedding. You know how she gets." "She says she has something important to tell me about your bachelorette party." I laughed, but it sounded forced even to me. Simon, whatever she thinks she saw, it's not what it looks like. We were all drunk, having fun. Sometimes things get blown out of proportion. He was still staring at me with that cold expression. What things, Lysandra? Nothing. That's my point. She's making something out of nothing. Simon set his phone down on the kitchen counter and crossed his arms. Then you won't mind if I hear what she has to say. Of course not, but just remember, she's been jealous of our relationship from the beginning. This might be her way of trying to cause problems. He nodded slowly, but I could tell he wasn't buying it. I'll be back in an hour. After he left, I immediately called Aimee. Don't answer your phone, I said, when her voicemail picked up. Whatever you're planning to tell Simon, think about it first. Think about our friendship. Think about my happiness. This is my wedding we're talking about. Then I called my sister Eva. I need you to do me a favor. If Simon calls you asking about Saturday night, just tell him we had a great time and nothing crazy happened. What's going on? Eva asked. Aimee is being dramatic about some harmless party fun. I just need everyone to stay calm until this blows over. Lysandra, what did you do? Nothing. That's the point. I did nothing wrong, and I'm not going to let Aimee's guilt complex ruin my wedding. But even as I said it, I could feel everything starting to slip out of my control. An hour and a half later, Simon came home. He walked straight into the kitchen without saying a word, reached into his pocket, and pulled out my engagement ring. The 3-carat diamond caught the afternoon light as he set it down on the counter with a soft click. Simon, whatever she told you. He held up his hand to stop me, still not speaking. Then he picked up his keys and walked out the door. I stared at the ring sitting on the counter, my beautiful ring that I'd posted about on Instagram dozens of times, and felt the first real flutter of panic in my chest. Simon didn't come home that night, or the next morning. I called him 6 times and got voicemail each time. I texted him paragraphs explaining that Aimee was overreacting, that nothing meaningful had happened, that we needed to talk like adults. No response. On Wednesday afternoon, I was at work trying to focus on quarterly reports when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Hi, Lysandra. This is Marcus from Club Meridian Security. Simon Halberg asked me to reach out about Saturday night. Can you give me a call when you have a chance? My blood went cold. Why would Simon be talking to club security? And how did he even know anyone there? I stepped outside to call the number back. Marcus speaking. Hi, this is Lysandra Greve. You texted me about Saturday night. Right, thanks for calling back. Simon used to work with my cousin at First National before he moved to his current firm. He asked me to pull some records from your party. What kind of records? VIP booth reservation logs, guest editions, bottle service receipts, pretty standard stuff for insurance purposes. Insurance purposes? What the hell was Simon doing? I'm not sure I understand why he would need those. Look, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but he seemed pretty upset. Said there was some confusion about what happened that night, and he wanted to get the facts straight. My hands were shaking now. What did the record show? Well, the booth was reserved under Aimee Chen's name, but charged to your card. Guest list shows 5 women initially, then a male guest was added at 1:47 a.m. Julian Pace, one of our VIP hosts. Bottle service charge came to $740, including the guest edition upcharge. Julian Pace, the investor who'd been so charming, so attentive, who'd made me feel beautiful and desired in a way I hadn't felt in months. But how did they know he'd been added to our booth? That seems like a mistake. We didn't add anyone to our party. Ma'am, I have the digital logs right here. Timestamp shows 1:47 a.m., authorized by card ending in 4729. That's your Amex, right? It was my Amex. I remembered drunkenly handing it over when Julian suggested upgrading our bottle service. But I didn't remember authorizing him as a guest. Can you send me a copy of those records? Sorry, I already sent them to Simon. Client confidentiality and all that. After I hung up, I sat in my car in the parking lot, trying to piece together exactly what Simon knew. Aimee had told him something about Julian. Now he had proof that Julian had been officially added to our booth. But that didn't prove anything had happened between us. I drove home, hoping Simon would be there so we could talk this through rationally. The apartment was empty, but I noticed his laptop was open on the dining room table. The screen was locked, but I could see he'd been working on something called exhibits. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Lysandra, honey, Simon called me. He sounded very upset. What's going on?" "Mom, it's just a misunderstanding. Some of my friends are being dramatic about my bachelorette party." He asked me if I knew anything about what happened Saturday night. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, but he seemed to think I should know something. Great. Now Simon was calling my family. "It's nothing, Mom. Just wedding stress. Everything will be fine." "Are you sure?" Because he sounded like he was crying. Simon was crying? In 2 years, I'd seen him cry exactly once when his grandfather died. A cold knot formed in my stomach. "I'm sure, Mom, I have to go." I hung up and immediately called Eva. "Has Simon called you?" "Not yet, but Lysandra, I'm worried. What exactly happened at the club?" "Nothing happened. Why does everyone keep asking me that?" "Because you're acting guilty as hell. Just tell me the truth." I took a deep breath. Eva was my sister. She was supposed to be on my side no matter what. "Okay, fine. I may have flirted with someone at the club, and maybe we kissed a little. But that's it. It was harmless." "Who did you kiss?" "Just some guy who was helping us with the VIP service. It didn't mean anything." "Lysandra, you're getting married in 2 weeks." "Exactly. In 2 weeks, I'll be committed forever. Can't I have one last moment of feeling free?" Eva was quiet for a long moment. "Does Simon know about the kissing?" "Aimee told him something, but she's blowing it way out of proportion. You know how she is." "What did she tell him?" "I don't know exactly, but whatever it was, it's not the whole story." That evening, Simon finally came home. He walked into the kitchen where I was making dinner, his favorite pasta dish, and sat down at the counter without greeting me. "We need to talk," he said. "Yes, we do. Simon, I know you're upset, but—" He pulled out his phone and set it on the counter between us. "I have the club reservation logs. I know Julian Pace was added to your booth at 1:47 a.m. I know you paid $740 for bottle service, including a guest edition charge. I know you Venmo'd him $200 the next morning." The Venmo payment, I'd forgotten about that. Julian had covered our Uber home when my card was declined, and I'd paid him back the next day, but the way Simon said it made it sound like payment for services rendered. "Simon, those are just financial transactions. They don't prove anything inappropriate happened." "Then explain them." Julian was helping coordinate our VIP service. The guest edition was probably just a system error. The Venmo was paying him back for covering our rides home. Simon stared at me for a long moment. "Lysandra, I've known you for 3 years. I can tell when you're lying." "I'm not lying." "Then look me in the eye and tell me you didn't cheat on me Saturday night." I met his gaze, putting every ounce of conviction I could muster into my voice. "I did not cheat on you Saturday night." It was technically true. What happened with Julian had been Sunday morning, after 2 a.m. Saturday night had been dancing and drinking and harmless flirting, but Simon didn't look convinced. Thursday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Aimee. When I finally called her back, she was hysterical. "Lysandra, I told him everything. I'm so sorry, but I couldn't live with the secret." "What do you mean, everything?" "About Julian, about what you told me happened in the bathroom corridor, about how you said it didn't count because you weren't married yet." My vision went white around the edges. "Aimee, you had no right. He deserved to know. You're supposed to get married in 10 days. "We're supposed to get married. Simon hasn't spoken to me since Tuesday." "Maybe if you just apologized." "Apologized for what? For having one moment of freedom before committing my entire life to one person? You cheated on him." "I kissed someone at my bachelorette party. It's practically tradition." But even as I said it, I knew it had been more than kissing. Julian and I had found a quiet corridor near the bathrooms, away from the cameras and crowds. What happened there had been brief but intense, fueled by expensive champagne and the thrill of feeling desired by someone new. Lysandra, please just tell Simon you're sorry. Tell him it was a mistake and it will never happen again. I'm not apologizing for something that doesn't matter. After I hung up, I tried calling Simon again. This time, he answered. What do you want, Lysandra? I want to talk. I want to explain. Aimee already explained. She told me exactly what you told her about your night with Julian Pace. Simon, please come home. We can work through this. No, we can't. Yes, we can. It was one stupid mistake that didn't even mean anything. So, you admit it was a mistake? I realized I'd just contradicted everything I'd been saying about it being harmless. I mean, it was a mistake to not tell you about it myself, but the actual incident was nothing. Goodbye, Lysandra. He hung up. An hour later, my phone chimed with a voicemail notification. It was from Aimee, and it was 11 minutes long. Simon, it's Aimee. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but I need to tell you exactly what happened Saturday night, because I think Lysandra is going to keep lying about it. My heart stopped. We got to Club Meridian around 9 p.m. Lysandra had already been drinking at dinner, and she was in this weird mood, like she was trying to prove something. When we got the VIP booth, she was flirting with everyone, but especially with Julian, the host who was taking care of us. No. Around midnight, Julian started paying special attention to her. He was buying her drinks, whispering in her ear, touching her arm. We all noticed it. Cara tried to get Lysandra to slow down, but she said she was celebrating her last night of freedom. This was so much worse than I'd thought. At 1:47 a.m., I remember because I checked my phone when Julian officially joined our booth, Lysandra and Julian disappeared together. Cara asked where they went, and Maya said she saw them heading toward the bathroom corridor. They were gone for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Had it really been that long? When Lysandra came back, her hair was messed up and her lipstick was gone. Julian came back a few minutes later, looking smug. Lysandra was giggling and kept touching his arm for the rest of the night. I was going to be sick. The next morning at brunch, before we all went home, Lysandra told me what happened. She said Julian had been amazing, that she felt alive for the first time in months, that it didn't count because she wasn't married yet. She said you'd been boring her lately, and she needed to feel desired. I never said that about Simon being boring. Did I? She made me promise not to tell anyone, said it was just harmless fun, and what you didn't know wouldn't hurt you. But Simon, I can't live with this secret. You deserve to know who you're marrying. The voicemail continued with more details, how I'd exchanged numbers with Julian, how I'd paid him back for drinks and rides, how I'd seemed proud of myself the next morning. When it finally ended, I sat on my bedroom floor and cried for the first time since this whole mess started. Then I called Aimee back. How could you send him that voicemail? How could you betray me like that? Lysandra, I'm trying to help you. If you would just admit what you did and apologize. You've ruined my life. You ruined your own life when you cheated on your fiancé. I hung up and immediately started calling my other bridesmaids. Cara, Maya, Janelle. I needed to know what they were planning to say if Simon contacted them. Cara answered first. Lysandra, I heard about what's happening. I'm so sorry. Cara, if Simon calls you, please just tell him that nothing serious happened, that I was just drunk and made a small mistake. Lysandra, I tried to stop you that night. I told you to think about Simon. You tried to stop me from what? From leaving with Julian, from doing something you'd regret. Even Cara, who'd been my friend since college, was turning against me. Maya didn't answer her phone, but she texted back. My lawyer says I shouldn't discuss Saturday night with anyone. Her lawyer? Why did Maya need a lawyer? Janelle was more supportive. This is crazy, Lysandra. Simon is totally overreacting. So what if you had a little fun? You're not married yet. Finally, someone who understood. Exactly. Thank you for being reasonable. Do you want me to call him? I could explain that it's normal for brides to get a little wild at their bachelorette parties. Would you? That would be amazing. But when I hung up, I realized that having Janelle defend me might just make things worse. She was known for being dramatic and unreliable. Her support might actually hurt my case. That evening, Simon came home to pack a bag. I tried to talk to him, but he ignored me completely. As he was leaving, I noticed his laptop was open again, this time to a folder labeled Evidence. Inside, I could see file names. Aimee N voicemail, 11 men MP3, club receipts.pdf, Venmo and screenshots.png. He was building a case against me like I was a criminal. Friday morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. This is Dave Chen, manager at Club Meridian. Can you call me regarding security footage from Saturday night? My hands were shaking as I dialed the number. Ms. Greve, thanks for calling back. I worked with Simon Halberg at First National a few years ago. He's asked me to review our security footage from your party. What kind of footage? VIP hallway cameras. They cover the corridor leading to the restrooms from the booth area. I felt like I was going to throw up. I don't understand why that would be necessary. Simon explained the situation. He's trying to verify some details about that evening. And what did the footage show? Dave was quiet for a moment. Ms. Greve, I think you should discuss this with Simon directly. Please, I just need to know what you saw. The footage shows you leaving the VIP booth area with a male guest at 2:23 a.m. You return alone at 2:41 a.m. The male guest returns 3 minutes later. 18 minutes. 18 minutes of footage proving I'd been alone with Julian in a private area. That doesn't prove anything inappropriate happened. Ma'am, that's not for me to determine. I'm just providing the requested documentation. After I hung up, I sat in my car outside my office building, trying to figure out how to spin this. Security footage was harder to explain away than witness testimony or financial records. I decided to go on the offensive. I posted a photo on Instagram from the bachelorette party. All 5 of us girls laughing in the VIP booth, looking happy and innocent. The caption read, "Missing my girls after the most amazing bachelorette party. Some people are trying to create drama where none exists, but true friends know the truth. Bride squad. No regrets. Lan, truth wins." Within an hour, the photo had dozens of comments. Most were supportive. Friends and co-workers saying I looked beautiful, asking about wedding plans, sending heart emojis. But then Cara commented, "Beautiful photo, but it doesn't show the whole night." My stomach dropped. I immediately deleted her comment, but not before several people had seen it. Then Maya commented, "On advice of counsel, I cannot comment on events depicted in this photograph." Advice of counsel? What the hell was Maya's problem? I called her immediately. "Maya, why are you acting like this is some kind of legal case?" "Because it might be, Lysandra. Simon's been calling all of us. He has a lawyer now." "A lawyer? For what?" "I don't know, but my dad says I should protect myself in case this becomes a he said, she said situation." "It's not going to become anything. It's just a misunderstanding between me and Simon." "Lysandra, he has security footage." "How do you know that?" "Because he showed it to me. He came to my office yesterday with his attorney and a laptop. They played the hallway footage and asked me to identify the people in it." I felt like the world was spinning around me. "What did you tell them?" "I told them the truth, that it was you and Julian leaving the booth area together." "Maya, what was I supposed to do, lie under oath?" His lawyer was recording everything. Under oath? Recording? This had escalated far beyond a relationship argument. That afternoon, my sister Eva called. "Lysandra, Simon came to see me." "What did he want?" "He wanted to know about our conversation Sunday morning after your party." My blood went cold. "What conversation?" When you called me to brag about how amazing your night had been, about how Julian had made you feel like a goddess, about how it didn't count because you weren't married yet. I had called Eva Sunday morning, drunk on champagne and endorphins, and the thrill of feeling desired. I'd told her everything, how charming Julian had been, how alive he'd made me feel, how it was just harmless fun before settling into married life. Eva, you didn't tell Simon all that, did you? Lysandra, he had a lawyer with him. They were asking specific questions about what you said. So you threw me under the bus? I told the truth. You called me bragging about cheating on your fiancé. I wasn't bragging, I was just excited. You said, and I quote, "It doesn't count because we're not married yet, and Simon never has to know." Those words, coming back to haunt me in Eva's voice, sounded so much worse than I remembered. Eva, you're my sister. You're supposed to support me. I am supporting you. I'm trying to get you to see how badly you've screwed up so you can fix it. There's nothing to fix. Everyone is acting like I committed murder when all I did was kiss someone at my bachelorette party. Lysandra, stop lying, even to yourself. We both know it was more than kissing. That evening, I checked my social media and discovered that my Instagram post had backfired spectacularly. Someone had screenshot Kara's deleted comment and Maya's legal disclaimer and posted them on Twitter with the caption, "When your bachelorette party is so scandalous, your own bridesmaids need lawyers." The tweet had been shared hundreds of times. People were speculating about what had happened, making jokes about evidence and security footage. My perfect wedding was becoming a viral cautionary tale. I deactivated all my social media accounts and poured myself a large glass of wine. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Lysandra, people are calling me asking about your wedding. Mrs. Henderson from church says there are rumors online that it's been cancelled." "It hasn't been cancelled, Mom. Simon and I are just working through some issues." "What kind of issues require lawyers, honey?" "I don't know why everyone keeps mentioning lawyers. This is just a relationship problem." "Your father got a call from Martin Halberg today." Simon's father, a retired judge who'd never particularly liked me. "What did he want?" "He wanted to know if we were aware of your conduct at your bachelorette party. He said Simon was exploring his options." Exploring his options. That sounded ominous. "Mum, I think Simon's family is trying to turn this into something bigger than it is." "Lysandra, what exactly happened at that party?" For the first time, I told my mother the complete truth. About Julian, about the VIP booth, about the bathroom corridor, about everything. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. "Mom? Lysandra, how could you do this? It didn't mean anything. It meant something to Simon. It means something to both our families. It means something to the 200 people we invited to your wedding. So everyone's going to abandon me over one mistake. It's not about abandoning you, honey. It's about the choices you made and the consequences that follow." After she hung up, I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by wedding planning binders and dress fittings appointments and vendor contracts, and realized that my entire life was falling apart. Saturday morning, exactly 1 week before our wedding date, I woke up to my phone buzzing with notifications, dozens of text messages, missed calls, voicemails. The first text was from our wedding photographer. "Hi, Lysandra. I received a cancellation notice from Simon's attorney. Please call me to discuss." Cancellation notice? The next text was from our florist. "Sorry to hear about the wedding cancellation. Per the contract terms, we can refund 60% of your deposit." Then the caterer. "Received cancellation documentation. Please confirm pickup arrangements for cake deposit." Simon had cancelled our entire wedding without telling me. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I called his office, but his assistant said he was unavailable. I drove to his temporary apartment, but he wasn't there. Finally, I called his attorney's office. "This is Lysandra Greve. I understand you've been cancelling my wedding vendors without my consent. Ms. Greve, Mr. Halberg has legal authority to cancel contracts he signed. I'd recommend you contact your own attorney. I don't need an attorney. I need to talk to my fiancé. Ma'am, Mr. Halberg is no longer your fiancé. Didn't you receive the annulment petition? The what? You should be receiving service of process within the next few hours. I hung up and raced home. There was a man in a suit standing outside my apartment building. Lysandra Greve? Yes? You've been served. He handed me a thick envelope and walked away. Inside were legal documents I could barely understand. Petition for annulment, fraud and concealment, breach of premarital agreement. Premarital agreement? We'd signed some financial paperwork months ago, but I hadn't read it carefully. Something about protecting both our assets and ensuring honesty in our relationship. There was also a USB drive labeled Exhibits AM. I plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. Exhibit A, Aimee's 11-minute voicemail confession with a professional transcript. Exhibit B, Club Meridian security footage showing me and Julian in the hallway. Exhibit C, VIP booth reservation logs and bottle service receipts. Exhibit D, Venmo payment screenshots. Exhibit E, text message screenshots from my sister Eva, including my Sunday morning bragging call. Exhibit F, witness statement from Cara, confirming she tried to stop me from leaving with Julian. Exhibit G, witness statement from Maya's attorney, confirming my identity in the security footage. Exhibit H, statement from Dave Chen, club manager, confirming footage authenticity. Exhibit I, financial records showing all wedding expenses paid by Simon, $18,400 total. Exhibit J, premarital agreement with highlighted sections about honesty and fidelity. Exhibit K, wedding vendor contracts with Simon as primary signatory. Exhibit L, guest list and cancellation notices sent to 200 wedding invitees. Exhibit M, statement from Julian Pace's attorney. Julian had given a statement. I clicked on the file. Mr. Pace confirms that he engaged in intimate physical contact with Ms. Greve on the premises of Club Meridian during the early morning hours of Sunday, March 12th. Mr. Pace was unaware that Ms. Greve was engaged to be married. Mr. Pace provides this statement in exchange for immunity from any civil liability related to this incident. Immunity from civil liability? Was Simon planning to sue Julian too? My phone rang. It was my mother. Lysandra, I just received the strangest email. What email? From Simon. It says your wedding has been cancelled due to breach of premarital commitments discovered through credible witness testimony. He says all gifts will be returned and guests should not travel to the venue. He sent that to everyone? 200 people, honey. Including your father's business partners, my book club, all our neighbors. I felt like I was having a heart attack. Mom, I can explain. The email includes a link to legal documents, public court filings. Public court filings. My humiliation was now a matter of public record. There's more, Lysandra. The email mentions security footage and witness statements. It says you committed fraud by concealing material information about your character and fidelity. I'm not a criminal. According to these documents, you might be. There's something about breach of contract and financial restitution. Financial restitution? I hung up and called the attorney's office back. What does financial restitution mean? Mr. Halberg paid for the majority of wedding expenses, venue, catering, flowers, photography, honeymoon deposits. The premarital agreement states that if the marriage is cancelled due to fraud or infidelity by either party, that party must reimburse all wedding costs. I have to pay him back $18,000, plus legal fees and court costs, approximately $22,000 total. I didn't have $22,000. That afternoon, I got a call from our wedding venue coordinator. Ms. Greve, I'm calling about the cancellation. We've been asked to provide a deposition about any unusual requests you made during planning. What kind of unusual requests? Well, you specifically asked us to avoid taking candid photos during the late evening hours of the reception. You said you wanted the photographer to focus on formal shots only after 10 p.m. I had made that request, but only because I was worried about looking tired in photos. Right? You also asked about the timeline for the bachelor and bachelorette parties, whether there were any rules about what happens during those events. I remembered that conversation now. I'd been asking whether the venue had any policies about bachelor party behavior, whether they'd ever had weddings cancelled due to pre-wedding incidents. Ms. Greve, these requests are consistent with someone who was planning to engage in behavior they wanted to hide. That's not what I was doing. Ma'am, I have to provide an honest deposition. The court will determine what it means. Sunday evening, I was sitting alone in my apartment when someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Simon. My heart leaped. Maybe he was here to reconcile. Maybe we could still work this out. I opened the door, and he walked past me into the kitchen. He was carrying a briefcase and looked like he hadn't slept in days. Simon, thank God you're here. We need to talk about this craziness with the lawyers and the cancellations. He set his briefcase on the counter, right next to where my engagement ring was still sitting. We're not talking about anything, Lysandra. I'm here to make sure you understand the legal situation. I understand that you're trying to humiliate me. I'm trying to get justice. He opened his briefcase and pulled out more documents. This is a complete financial accounting of our relationship. Every dinner I paid for, every vacation, every gift. The court will decide how much you owe me beyond the wedding costs. You're suing me for dinner dates? I'm suing you for fraud, for lying to me about who you are and what you believe in, for making me invest 2 years of my life and $20,000 in a relationship that was built on deception. One mistake doesn't negate 2 years of love. It wasn't one mistake, Lysandra. It was a pattern of selfishness and dishonesty that I was too blind to see. He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. This is your text to Eva the morning after your party. Julian was incredible. I feel alive for the first time in months. Simon never has to know, and it doesn't count anyway because we're not married yet. Seeing my own words on his phone screen was devastating. You felt alive for the first time in months? While planning our wedding? Simon, I didn't mean it like that. You also told Eva that I'd been boring you lately, that you needed to feel desired by someone else. I was drunk when I said that. Drunk words are sober thoughts, Lysandra. He put his phone away and looked directly at me. The annulment hearing is Wednesday. You can contest it if you want, but I have 11 witnesses, security footage, financial records, and your own recorded confessions. You'll lose, and it will cost you even more money. Simon, please, I love you. We can get past this. No, we can't, because you don't think you did anything wrong. Even now, you're trying to minimize and justify and blame everyone else. He was right. Even as he was speaking, I was thinking about how to explain away the evidence, how to make him understand that it hadn't been about not loving him. The ring is yours, I said quietly. I don't want it. It's evidence of a fraud. He closed his briefcase and headed toward the door. Simon, wait. He turned back. I'm sorry. I'm truly deeply sorry. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. And then he was gone. Wednesday morning, I sat in a courtroom next to a public defender I'd met 30 minutes earlier, watching Simon's attorney present a case that destroyed my life with surgical precision. Your Honor, the evidence shows a clear pattern of fraud and concealment by the respondent. She engaged in intimate physical contact with another man, lied about it to her fiancé, attempted to cover it up by pressuring witnesses, and only admitted partial truth when confronted with irrefutable evidence. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, reviewed the exhibits methodically. Security footage played on a screen in the courtroom. Grainy but unmistakable images of me and Julian leaving the VIP area together, returning separately 18 minutes later. The respondent told multiple people that her actions didn't count because she wasn't married yet, indicating a fundamental misunderstanding of the commitment she was making. She told her sister she felt alive for the first time in months, suggesting ongoing dissatisfaction with her relationship while simultaneously planning an expensive wedding. My public defender tried to argue that the annulment standard was too high, that my actions constituted infidelity but not fraud. But every time he spoke, Simon's attorney had another piece of evidence. Your Honor, the respondent specifically asked the wedding venue to avoid candid photography during late evening hours and inquired about policies regarding bachelor party behavior. This shows premeditation and consciousness of guilt. The respondent received over $18,000 in wedding contributions from the petitioner based on false representations about her commitment and fidelity. The respondent attempted to obstruct justice by pressuring witnesses to lie and deleting social media evidence. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up on shaking legs. Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake. I was drunk, I was scared about getting married, and I did something I deeply regret. But I love Simon, and I want to make this right. The judge looked at me with no sympathy. Ms. Greve, do you believe your actions at the bachelorette party constituted infidelity? I think they were inappropriate, but yes or no, Ms. Greve? Yes. And did you lie to Mr. Halberg about these actions when he initially asked you about them? I was trying to protect him from being hurt. Yes or no, Ms. Greve? Yes. And did you tell your sister that your actions didn't count because you weren't married yet? I was confused and trying to justify. Yes or no, Ms. Greve? Yes. The judge made some notes and looked back up at me. Ms. Greve, did you tell multiple people that Mr. Halberg had been boring you lately and that you needed to feel desired by someone else? I wanted to explain the context, the stress, the complicated emotions of getting married, but I could see in her eyes that explanations wouldn't help. Yes. Based on the evidence presented, I find that the respondent engaged in a pattern of deception that goes to the heart of the marital commitment. The petitioner entered into this engagement based on false representations about the respondent's character and fidelity. She signed something and handed it to the clerk. Annulment granted. The respondent will reimburse the petitioner $18,400 in wedding expenses, plus $3,200 in legal costs within 90 days. This matter is concluded. I sat in the courtroom for several minutes after everyone else had left, staring at the engagement ring I'd placed on the table as evidence. Simon had won completely. The annulment was granted on fraud grounds, meaning our entire relationship was legally declared invalid. I owed him over $20,000 I didn't have. The court record, including my "it didn't count" defense, was public and searchable forever. My phone had been buzzing throughout the hearing. Text messages from friends who'd seen the court documents online, from co-workers who'd heard about the case, from family members who were humiliated by the public nature of my disgrace. But the worst message was from Julian Pace's attorney. Mr. Pace has lost his investment stake in Club Meridian due to the liquor board review triggered by this case. He will be pursuing civil remedies against your client for damages to his reputation and business interests. Julian was suing me too. I walked out of the courthouse into the bright afternoon sun, my entire life in ruins. No fiancé, no wedding, no savings, no friends who would admit to knowing me, and a court record that would follow me forever. The last text message on my phone was from Eva. I saw the news coverage. Mum and Dad think you should move out of state and start over somewhere else. Even my own family wanted me gone. I got in my car and drove home to my empty apartment, where my engagement ring still sat on the kitchen counter, where Simon had dropped it 6 days earlier. 6 days that had destroyed everything I'd built over 3 years. As I sat there in the silence, I realized that Simon had been right about everything. I was sorry I got caught, not sorry I had cheated. I had been bored with our relationship. I had felt more alive in 18 minutes with Julian than I had in months with Simon. And now everyone knew it. The kitchen counter where my ring sat was cold and empty, just like the rest of my life. Simon's revenge had been perfect, methodical, legal, and complete. He'd used my own words, my own actions, and my own lies to destroy me so thoroughly that I couldn't even argue with the result. I picked up the ring and held it up to the light, watching it sparkle one last time before putting it in a box to sell. I needed the money for legal fees. My phone buzzed with one final notification, a Google alert I'd set up months ago for my own name, back when I was planning to change it to Lysandra Halberg. The alert was a link to a legal blog post titled "Bachelorette Party Fraud: When It Doesn't Count Becomes Evidence." The post included excerpts from my court case, my quoted testimony, and a legal analysis of how social media and digital evidence were changing divorce law. I was now a cautionary tale with my full name attached, searchable, and permanent. Simon had gotten his justice, and I had gotten exactly what I deserved.